A young man comes to the Prophet ﷺ with a complaint. This is the Prophet of Allah. I am the breadwinner for my family. I earn. And my father doesn't work, but he wastes all my money. He blows it all. And I just keep working. He keeps taking my money and just wasting it. Prophet ﷺ says, okay, you bring your father, let's see what the issue is. So he goes to call his father, tell him that the Prophet ﷺ is summoning him. As the young man goes to fetch his father, Jibreel ﷺ comes. And he tells Nabi ﷺ that, O Prophet of Allah, this boy did not speak the truth. His complaint was false. His father has done no such thing. In fact, it is this boy who has very deeply grieved and hurt his father. But his father, because of his age and because of his inability to do anything now, he just keeps on hurting inside and grieving inside and just internalizes it all. And the Arabs used to express themselves through poetry. Poetry for them was a natural expression. It wasn't literature being compiled. It just came out. When they were angry, the anger would just come out in poetry. When they were feeling arrogant, they would express it in poetry. When they were feeling disgraced, it would come out as poetry. When they were feeling love, it would just come out. Everything was poetry for them. So, this father, in one of those fits of grief and pain that he was experiencing from his son, he uttered all of these sentiments to himself, and of course it came out as poetry. But the father, because of his situation, that now, you see, the father's situation is compromised because the son is earning. So he didn't say it to him, he just said it all inside. So Jibreel S.A.W. said that when the father comes, ask him about the couplets that he said so secretly that not even his own ears have heard them. Ask him about those couplets. Now, father and son come in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, look, your son is complaining that he's working and earning, exerting himself, and you're blowing all his money. So what is this? He said, O Prophet of Allah, by Allah, I have not wasted a penny of this boy's earnings. I have only used it on the most basic of my needs. And he has an aunt, meaning my sister, who also has no one to earn for her. Some money is spent on her. And we are not living extravagant lives. We're just using the bare minimum. And never have I taken his money and used it or wasted it or thrown away his earnings. The Prophet ﷺ said, yes, you have spoken the truth. But tell me something. Tell me those couplets that you said to yourself when you were hurting and burning and just grieving inside. The man was shocked. He said, SubhanAllah, I haven't even uttered these with my own tongue yet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps giving us excuses to build our yaqeen in you. Because the only way you could have known about this was through wahi. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, let me hear them. So the man started reciting these couplets. He says, غَضَوْتُكَ مَوْلُودًا وَمُنْتُكَ يَافِعًا تُعَلُّ بِمَا أَجْنِي عَلَيْكَ وَتَنْهَلُ إِذْ لَيْلَةٌ ضَاقَتْكَ بِالسَّقْمِ لَمْ أَبِدْ لِسَقْمِكَ إِلَّا سَاهِرًا أَتَمَلْمَلُ فخاف الردى نفسي عليك وإنها لتعلم أن الموت وقت مؤجل فلما بلغت السن والغاية التي إليها مدى ما كنت فيك أؤمل جعلت جزائي غلظة وفظاظة كأنك أنت المنعم المتفضل فليتك إذ لم ترع حق أبوتي فعلت كما الجار المصاقب يفعل فأوليتني حق الجوار ولم تكن علي بمال دون مالك تبخل. Very powerful words. When I was in madrasa, I had this shauq, this hobby of transferring Arabic poetry into English poetry, because growing up I used to love English literature, and when I studied Arabic, I guess some of that love transferred to the Arabic literature. So many years ago I transferred this into English. It's not an exact translation, but it's close. He says, when you were just an infant with small hands and tiny feet, I did my best to clothe you, provide you food to eat. And even in your adolescence, when you ever had a yearning, the only thing providing you was my hard work and earning. Whenever you fell ill, it was impossible to sleep. I would spend those nights restless and even begin to weep. Sometimes I would cry for fear of unknown harm, although death is preordained and there was no need for alarm. Then when you finally grew up and at last became of age, and all my life I'd been waiting for you to reach this stage, you rewarded me with bluntness and words that were too cruel, as if you had greatly helped me and I was the ungrateful fool. So if you couldn't be fair to me and could not fulfill my right, you could have at least been nicer like a friendly neighbor might. Then at least you would have been loyal to your neighbor. If your true and loving father you simply could not favor. So if a true and loving son you simply cannot be, then with my very own wealth don't be stingy, not with me. When the Prophet ﷺ heard the sentiment, father, he broke down and started crying at how much pain this father must have gone through, who had spent his whole life earning for this son and raising him and doing everything, and now because of his old age and his inability to do anything, the son is acting like a tyrant. You took my money, you used my money. So the Prophet ﷺ grabbed him by the front of his shirt and he pulled him and he said, Anta wa maluka li abik, you and whatever you own all belongs to your father.